Welcome to Pop Culture Retro, which was recently voted the 15th best podcast by the residents of the Golden Years Retirement Community in Boca Raton, Florida. Each show, we'll revisit some of your favorite pop culture memories with insider and outsider perspectives. Now, please help me welcome your hosts, Ike Eisenmann and Jonathan Rosen.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Pop Culture Retro, where we take a look back at all the things that we loved in our childhood. One of your co-hosts, Jonathan Rosen, and please help me welcome Ike Eisenmann.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This should be a really fun one for both of us. Hopefully it'll be fun for you guys too. So here we go.
Well, I think especially for you, I think today we're going to be talking about all things Disney, from our past times we've gone, things that are no longer their rides. And I mean, to me, like, you're Mr. Disney. So,
That's so funny because I do, I've really adopted it in a huge way, of course, over the course of my life. And it's really funny. I flirted for a very brief period of time with getting a tattoo.
Really?
And yeah, and I thought, what would I get? I couldn't even imagine doing it, but I thought, what would I get? And I thought it'd have to be something Disney. And then I stopped and said, wait a minute, but I kind of represent Disney. So that's a little like, seemed like a weird double positive. So I passed on the whole idea.
Well, I got to ask you now, because it's just something that you just said, and I've never asked you this before. Was there any time in your life that you were not fond of Disney? Because, I mean, just maybe like, typecast with Witch Mountain or something? Is that something that you ever resented them for something? Because I've read other celebrities that hate their defining roles.
Yeah, that does happen. And not to me, not in any way, not at all. Because my fandom of Disney goes back to when I was extremely young, which we'll obviously talk about in this. But I have been exposed to Disney all throughout my childhood, and my grandmother took me to all the Disney films when they came out, when I lived in Texas with her. And then growing up, just watching The Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday nights. I mean, that was a ritual event in our house. We all sat down as a family and watched that, along with those people who are old enough will remember Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom.
Yes,
which
right. I watched
which
that
either
as well.
came out after, but I think it led into The Wonderful World of Disney. But
I think you're right, because I remember those going in tandem.
Yeah, I mean, one of my great exciting moments in my young life, as exciting as doing Witch Mountain, but was when my first project for The Wonderful World of Disney came on the air, and there was Tinkerbell hitting the magic wand and all the graphics that went showing the castle, and then
awesome.
And then my name came up. I'm getting weepy just thinking about it, but then there was my name, and I was sitting in the same living room I've been sitting in, watching this show voraciously and dreaming beyond dreaming about being a part of all of that incredible magic. So to get to have accomplished that, and now still to this day having three classic Disney films that I was a huge part of, is just, I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it. So no, I have no resentment about it at all. And I definitely feel a kinship to the entire Disneyana concept because of that, both from inside and outside.
So we're going to bring it up during this podcast during this episode, because this I have mentioned to you before, but we can talk about it during Talk of the Parks. You should be, and you might hate that I bring it up, you should be revered by Disney. Because I think you are really one of the Disney icons of my period, at least in my generation. And you should be getting those golden passes, go in whenever you want. And when as soon as you walk in, have all these, the barbershop quartets running over to you, welcome Mr. Eisenmann, singing you a song.
Oh my gosh.
That's what it should be in my mind for you. That's not the reality. So, the ones that the Dapper Dans.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. God, you don't really, I haven't seen those guys in a long time. I would be beyond self-conscious, I think, if that was a part of my daily existence. But you know, I have had, okay, you know, I don't know how those things work. I don't know how they qualify Disney celebrities or Disney contributors. They've got the Legends program where, you know, they acknowledge certain you know, certain individuals who are a very, very important part of the organization going way back and even more recently. And in a lot of ways, I would have thought Kim and I both, I mean, not just me separately, but Kim Richards as well, because
I agreed.
We're both tied to that movie in a huge way, and we both did multiple Wonderful World of Disney shows as well. I mean, I don't remember how many she did, but I'm sure she was under contract when I was under contract. So, you know, back in the mid to late 70s. So I don't know how these things work. I don't even know who to talk to about it, but I guess it's something I'm just going to have to research and push myself out there, see what happens.
Well, hopefully, if anyone watching this, I mean, but that should be now. I mean, I just can't comprehend it. But anyway, let's go into the parks. Let me hear about your first experience. What you used to go often when you moved to California?
I did go very often when I moved to California, but my first experience is actually captured on film, and I have it available. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be posting the video today, the day we post this show, on Facebook and Instagram, so that people can see it. Back in 1965, I was 3 years old, and wow. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. A very quick background. My father was a performer, and he had a live action children's television show in Houston, Texas for over 9 years. It was a daily show. It was on 6 days a week. And when he would take his vacations, we would drive around to different amusement parks and, different attractions. And my father would film my brother and I. And when my brother was born, this experience was prior to my brother being around. But we did a road trip to Las Vegas and then went to California and went to Disneyland. And my father filmed the entire thing. My mother and I, he's in the video. So he shot aspects of the park. And these are things that assets he would take back to his show and broadcast them so that other people could see them. So it was really great fun. And I tend to actually forget how much of a little performer I was going back even that far, because I'm kind of a little fun and over the top in this. But it is it's 11 minutes of film that I cut down to like two or 3 minutes just to show some highlights. But it actually has some incredible things to be able to see that existed at Disneyland back in 1965. And of course, you know, that one of the things about the parks is they evolve, you know, they change, especially Disneyland. So there's
not always for the better, in my opinion, but
no, a lot of people share that opinion too. I mean, I'll come right out and say California Adventure is just, to me, it's nothing but eye candy. You walk around, there's not really much to do there.
Really? I've never been hilarious.
There. Well, yeah. So I can share with you a little bit about that for those people who haven't been. But yeah, not always for the better. But yeah, there are some significant things in the video that I have that are extraordinary to imagine that they were even attempted, let alone successful. One of them primarily being the submarine ride at Disneyland, which I've always loved. It was just such a great fantasy anyway. But in 65, and I don't know how long they did this and when it ended, but there were actual live fish in the lagoon that you see in my video, because my father filmed out the window of the submarine, and there's huge like sea bass and small, you know, manta rays swimming around, and it's got live vegetation in it, and it's just beyond extraordinary. I mean, it's incredible. And I don't remember if I've seen them, and I didn't research this to see if it was actually true, but I do think for a short period of time they had live mermaids underwater that had
just about to ask you about that, if that was true, because I've read the same thing.
I think it is.
That they used to be.
And I may have actually seen them, but but I don't have anything like that on film, so I can't completely confirm it. But it seems like, yeah, something that must have been around, because we both
I don't
remember it.
know if it was in Florida, because I only went to the Florida one, and I remember the ride vividly. I love that ride, and I don't remember the mermaids, and I think that I read the same thing, that they used to be there as well. And
Yeah.
I don't remember it at all.
Yeah.
But that would be really cool if it
Yeah.
was true. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If anybody out there had any footage or
Yeah.
pictures of that, would be amazing. But
Please send it in if you do. Yes.
oh yeah, oh, for sure. But yeah, some of the other things that are fascinating. The Matterhorn, which is a huge, centerpiece for Disneyland, which we don't have at the Magic Kingdom in Florida. Right. First of all, the thing about the Matterhorn was that was our I Spy. When we see that in the distance from the freeway driving, we're almost there. And it's the most exciting moment when you see that just pop up over the top of the trees. And, then you're pulling into the parking lot. But also in the video, you can barely see it, but probably 2 or 3 times a day, they had an actual rock climber guy who climbed the side of the Matterhorn. Yeah, with his lederhosen and his little hat with the feather in it, and a pick and all that stuff. It was really fun, because everyone would just stop and watch this guy climb up the side to the top, wave to everybody, and climb back down again.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And we all know about Tinkerbell flying, which
right.
That just I think they stopped doing that at Disneyland quite some time ago. I don't know when, but that was always the big event during the fireworks at night, is watching Tinkerbell. Well,
I don't know. The last I remember, they were still doing it here. I don't know if that stopped or not, but I used to see Tinkerbell here, flying across that rope, from the castle down to wherever it goes. So I don't know if that stopped or not. I've not been recently in the last year. I've not been. That was one of the fun things. So.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I believe at Disneyland, she flew from the Matterhorn to the castle. That was her little flight line. But it's just so much fun to be able to actually have something where, like this video that I have, where you can see, the costumed characters walking down the street, the crowds gathered around. Sure. They used to have a double-decker bus and vintage cars that you could get in and ride from the town square where you went in all the way up to the castle, and very, very, very busy stuff going on at that park. There always was. But this was my first experience. I got my first set of Mickey ears with my name embroidered on it, which is actually in the video. So everyone, you're going to have to go check it out, because it's really fun to watch. Aside from the fact that I'm in it, but but it was as much of a big part of having an impression on me of something fantastical that was fantastical. I mean, that's my best word. It was real life, but it was all fantasy. And once my family moved to California, which we did, my father decided to pursue a career in show business. So we actually transplanted from Houston, Texas to Los Angeles when I was 6 years old. And rather soon after that, my father got one of his first jobs emceeing a musical variety show at the park at Disneyland. So wow, we ended up going and seeing him. So you could go there all the time. Yeah, we just started going there regularly, and I quite literally grew up being exposed to Disney from both of those standpoints that we're talking about, right. But the parks especially, because it really was a place you could go, escape, get away, and have a truly immersive experience.
How often did you go?
At least 2-3 times a year. And I was very fortunate once I was under contract with Disney and I did Escape to Witch Mountain, they had offered me up tickets anytime I wanted to go. And so from the age of 11 until, good grief, this went on for a good 15 years. All I had to do was make a phone call to the publicity department at the studio, and they'd send the tickets in whatever day I wanted to go. And I just showed up at guest relations, picked up my tickets, and walked right into the park. So and I had
that shouldn't have stopped. That should not have stopped.
Yeah.
But yes.
Well, it did one day, and it was a very sour experience for me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, which I couldn't believe. I couldn't believe when it happened.
Wow.
It was really sort of surprising because I hadn't. Yeah, when it did end, I was probably in my late 20s. I hadn't asked for tickets.
Can you get me Iger on the phone now, please?
Yeah.
Bob Iger. Yeah.
No, I had called up the same person I'd been speaking to for 20 years and asked if I could get 2 tickets. And she kind of hemmed and hawed. And she says, well,
wow,
we're really not doing that anymore, but I will give you a courtesy one last time. And I said,
oh my God. Wow.
Oh, okay. All righty. You know, so I laughed about it. And, it wasn't too, I don't remember how much longer it was after that I ended up actually moving to Florida and never tried to take, to see if I had any access from this coast at all. But at any rate, while it lasted, it was fantastic because my cousins would come into town, family would come into town. We just get all the tickets that we wanted, and we could all go. Yeah, and so that was extraordinary.
That's why they stopped, because you were taking all these other people.
Probably. Yeah, there were no real restrictions on it, and it is kind of amazing to this day how they manage all of that, because my wife is retired from guest relations from Hollywood Studios. And because she was there long enough, she's got her, they call it a main gate. She can get herself and 3 other people in whenever cast members are not blocked out. So that courtesy got shifted over to my spouse. And so we just take advantage of that and go when we want to go. But yeah, there's just a lot of interesting, nerdy things about Disneyland back in the day. A lot of people don't know that you actually had to purchase tickets to ride the rides.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And there were little coupon booklets that were alphabetized A through E.
Well,
and
the E-ticket was the best one, right?
Yeah, always the best one. Right. I think it was like an
yes.
80-cent ride or something like that. Or it might have been 25 cents.
You didn't get as many of the
started.
E ones as the other ones. Right?
Yeah. We would collect it because I think an A ticket was Dumbo, a B ticket. I think actually Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which is still my favorite, it's many people's favorite, was a D ticket because it was so popular. It was not an E ticket. E ticket was the exciting ones. That was the Matterhorn, and
right.
I don't know if Space Mountain existed while they still had the coupon books, but it certainly would have qualified. But
I don't know when Space Mountain opened here. I remember Space Mountain being an E-ticket. I do remember that, but I don't recall when it opened here, because I'm old enough to have that ticket system as well. I remember that also.
Okay.
But I don't know when it opened here.
They use the ticket system in Florida.
They use it in Florida as well.
At Disney World. Oh, okay. Yeah, because the first time I visited Disney World was not until 1982. So, and that was way past all that stuff. But yeah, the e-ticket ride, which is, it's such a cliched term these days, and most people probably don't even know what it's based on.
Know what it means. Right, yes.
So I
had similar to you. Yeah.
Yeah, you've never had a chance to go to Disneyland. Have you ever been to Los Angeles?
I went to Los Angeles through the airport. That was the only time I've ever been there. I stopped at LAX to get to somewhere else. I think to Mexico, actually.
Yeah.
And but that was it. I wanted to go to Disneyland my whole life. I've never been. I heard I don't know. I'll ask you your opinion, because I've heard it's not as good as Magic Kingdom. So I don't know. but it's still the first one, so you have to go there.
Well, yeah, it's different. I want to say it's the same but different. It's what makes it
But
so
much
different.
smaller.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. First of all,
Right.
it's tiny in comparison to the Magic
Right.
Kingdom in Florida, and a lot of people don't know that when they go to Disneyland for the first time. If they've been to Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World, they're shocked at how small it is. They almost feel like they're ripped off in a way. But they managed to pack so much stuff inside of that small footprint at Disneyland. It's amazing. And it's laid out in that Disney way. And I don't know who invented the whole idea of, many corners and bends and turns to hide things, but you just you move very quickly through that park, which actually makes it kind of fun because you're not so exhausted from saying, well,
Right.
like Magic Kingdom in Florida, if you want to go from, from Space Mountain and then go to Pirates, it's a trek, it's a
Yeah.
good long walk.
Well, in Florida, you have to have your system in place. You have to know which ride you hit first, and then which one you could hit later on in the day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, very much so. You don't have to
Yeah.
apply that same thinking to Disneyland because it's very quick getting around the park. And the only real major major addition that they were able to do in terms of space clearly took decades and decades and decades to realize when they did design and plan and built California Adventure, which was built in the original parking lot of Disneyland. And they could only do that when they could acquire enough real estate to build an off-site parking structure for, to support, not only Disneyland, but then the new park as well. And, but everything else, they've somehow managed to just cram inside of this very small area. But it's endearing. It's beautiful. The artistry is fantastic. And again, people are disappointed how small Cinderella's castle is because it's tiny compared to the one at Magic Kingdom. But it's still impressive. You still get that sense of awe and wonder when you walk in.
When's the last time you were there at Disneyland?
It's probably been I'm trying to think because I went there when my wife and I went to attend the premiere of Race to Witch Mountain. So it's probably been 11 years.
So it's a while.
Yeah, 11, 12 years. Yeah, it has been.
So here's one of the things that I wanted. I read all the things. I read all the history. I'm a huge Disney guy. Now, read about the things at Disneyland that they were all upset that you could see out into like the highways originally, that you could see out, from certain rides and breaking the illusion. Was that ever resolved there? That's why they bought the Florida, all the property and bought all the surrounding property so you could keep the magic confined to one area and not break that illusion. You're at Disney World, there you are. You don't see reminded.
As I recall, because it has been a while, they ended up doing a very good job of building through trees, growth of landscaping and a green wall that goes all the way around the park. They've managed to block out all of that stuff. So when you're in there, you really feel like you're in there. You don't see, unless you're on the monorail, of course. When you're on the monorail, you can see over everything because you're up in the air. But you really don't see the other hotels that are surrounding it. And that is one of the things. And this is, of course, extremely well known. Part of what you were saying with being able to not see anything was also just having the space to keep out all of the ancillary businesses that cropped up around Disneyland. Because when you go, it's shocking to see the dense population of hotels completely surrounding the park. It's just nothing but hotels,
so the
restaurants, and gas stations.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And I know that was something that Walt wanted to avoid completely with the new park. And of course, as you know, they've been able to achieve that. Everyone knows they've been able to achieve that. But yeah, it's some people find it claustrophobic because it is so small. And then when it's crowded, I mean, when you're at 100% capacity at Disneyland, you definitely feel it because there's not really anywhere to go. It's wall to wall people. So I've been there when there's practically no one there, and I've been there when it's been really crowded. So
Oh, I love when I go here. There are certain times of the year, and I don't even know if that's true anymore. But when my kids were little, there are certain times of the year at Magic Kingdom when it is really empty. At least they were. And it was the best things because you just walk through that park, and just see everything. It's like you have it to yourselves almost.
oh yeah, there definitely were times of year where you could achieve that. And then usually when school started,
Right.
when school started, people weren't going. It was the end of summer, and that was a really great time to go. Nowadays, I don't think so, because I mean, there's so much.
There's no good time anymore.
Yeah, in my cursory kind of getting up to speed for this today, just reading some information, and Disneyland is the number 2
Right.
theme park attraction in the world, number 2 in the world. So
Wow.
it doesn't hold as many people certainly as Magic Kingdom here or Disney World can, which is number 1. So you got number 1 and number 2, and you got this tiny little 160-acre park in Anaheim, California, that has to accommodate, good grief, I don't know, it must be 40,000 people, something like that. So so yes, I don't think so anymore. I think there's too much traffic going there. I think those days are kind of over. But I also remember, I mean, I got to do some special things back in my day at Disneyland, when occasionally the studio or some entity would shut the park down for a private party after 8:00 at night. And
you live the dream.
you never know. Yeah, you never know if you're a paying customer who walks in. They tell you at the gate, park's closing 8:00 tonight. There will be no fireworks. If that's okay with you, please come on in. And, they give you this warning, and then they would just start corralling people out, at 8:00, and transition over into this, private party in the park where you could go ride everything and do everything. And that's an extraordinary experience too.
Well, there was also, I mean, you must have been there when they had all these famous celebrities of the day, do things at the park also at night, like filming all these specials.
Yeah, I mean, I actually saw one of the specials once where they didn't close the park; they had it open because they wanted people there. But I reached a point where I would tend to avoid those things.
Oh, right.
It gets a little old for me, but there were just lots of really, amazing experiences I definitely got to have when it came to that park.
I mean, they just look like so much fun. I mean, I watch all the old videos on YouTube, and I think I mentioned this to you before too. My youngest is like Donny Osmond obsessed, and when she still watches all those videos where the Osmonds did things at the parks.
Yeah,
and they like were filming them going around to all the different attractions.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
That must have been fun. It must have been the pain for other people too. See, cursing them out, like, why are these people getting to go on instead of me? But
oh yeah, a little bit. You would see that. You would see disgruntled people. Not everyone though.
Right. No, but I think my experience is similar to yours in a lot of ways. I mean, I think we first went, I lived in New York. I always say this, you can't tell by the accent, but I'm from New York originally. But,
oh, really?
Yeah. Right, no one can tell.
Yeah.
But so we went for New York, but whenever we had a lot of family in St. Pete, Florida. So we would visit often. And every time we went, it would make it a point to go to the park. And so even though we didn't live there, we were there quite often. And then later on, we moved to St. Pete, and the same thing, whenever anyone visited, let's go to the park. let's run to the park.
Right.
And I had a lot of Mexican family that came in, and we would always run off to the park. So I was there a lot growing up. And then even later on now, when I have my own family, you buy those year tickets, and I'm 3 hours from Disney, like 2.5, 3 hours from Disney now. But when you buy those year passes, which they just did away from because of COVID, but if you buy those year passes, you feel compelled to go. You want to get your money's worth.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You're invested.
Right. So anytime there's like a free weekend, let's go to Disney. Just, there's nothing going on. Let's travel to Disney because you have those tickets. So Disney is a huge part of my life. I mean, I love the parks. I love everything about it. Just, I still feel like a little kid going inside now, all these years later.
Most definitely. Well, how old were you when you first came?
The first time I was at the park, I was probably close to the same year, around 3 years old, maybe here in the Magic Kingdom. So it's always been, and I got, same thing as you, the Mickey ears, but even though later on it was more Donald, because Donald's my guy. So you're wearing the Mickey shirt, but Donald's my...
I forgot to feature that. Yes, this is my my park shirt.
Well, I have the background here, the Disney Magic Kingdom, but Donald, I love Donald Duck. I'm Donald obsessed. I'll have to show it one time. My house is like littered with Donald things. All around the house.
Yeah, I don't have any Mickey stuff around me at all.
Right, I know.
No.
See, I yelled at you once to Donald. But
he's on a shelf right behind my chair. But I'm just pointing this out really quick because these actually, I started collecting Mickey Mouse before I worked for Disney, and then once I did, I became obsessed with it myself. So this is all stuff I bought at Disneyland back in the 70s.
Do you have a larger collection within the house, or that's the collection?
No, I have some more racks over here with some things in it, and so I didn't go crazy. I have a lot of I like the plush dolls as well as those are up top. You can't really see them. Let's see here. I'll do this. Let's see. The little plush collection up there, and then I'm facing a collection of plush Mickey's on the top of my bookshelf that's on the other side of my computer screen that just smile at me when I work. So
when we post this, I'm going to have to send you some of my pictures. Actually, I'm looking at a Peter Pan picture by one of those Ellen Shaw things. And then I have a Mary Poppins here, but we have I got so Donald obsessed. I think when the Disney stores used to be at like all the malls, I think one of them was closing and they were getting rid of the items. I got one of their Disney statues that they were using inside the Donald statues. I mean, and I bought that from the Disney.
That was always one
small one, but I did get that to bring it.
Yeah, that was always one of my. I've not acquired one, and now they're probably way too expensive. But I used to just absolutely lust after the maquettes or the little statues of Mickey Mouse that they would put in the windows at Disneyland and the Emporium with their little little dioramas they would do, because they were just they were so well sculpted and crafted. And so, okay, this is gonna sound funny, but as a kid I would think he's so realistic looking. Which is a really funny thing to say about a cartoon character, but anyway.
So which ride? I mean, you still go often now. You're like right around the corner from Magic Kingdom now.
Yeah, 10 minutes door to door, quite literally. What happens also when you live this close, and we've been my wife and I, and her name is Tia. I'll just out her that way. It makes people laugh all the time, and you Witch Mountain fans will know what I mean. Yes, anyway. She and I have been so many times that after a while you start to go a little bit less, because of course when the grandkids come to town, we're there every day. Right. And so we end up getting our fill. But primarily, I would say, being very contemporary with this conversation at this point, what we love to do more than anything is go to Epcot, just walk around, eat, drink.
Epcot's my favorite as well.
And just enjoy all of that. The Magic Kingdom doesn't hold the same draw, even though I love to be there. I mean, I still get lost in the fantasy, and it's like being in a real life movie set. movie sets were a big deal to me. Not obviously growing up, but I was on a lot of television and movie sets over the course of my career. And earlier in my career, back in the earlier days of the studios, every single studio had what's called a backlot. People are familiar with this term, but the backlot was a way for productions to shoot in Los Angeles, but on location. So there'd be the Western Street, there'd be the residential street, there would be, something else that could serve some other purpose. And it's very interesting because they were designed very much like Disneyland in a way. You'd have little corners and bends in the road so that you could create the illusion of an entire neighborhood with one short piece of street. As a matter of fact, back when Hollywood Studios was called MGM Studios, they had a little backlot section there that had a street with residential houses that were just facades. They were just faces. I don't think you could go into them.
I don't remember going into them, but
yeah, you could just walk through it. And that's what the studio lots were like. And you'd open a door and there'd be nothing in there. They might store lights in there or something like that. It was just a shell of a building, but they were extremely functional and made completely realistically. So I would go walk around those backlots, like on my lunch breaks when I had some time to myself, just to kind of be in that environment. And so that's what I like about the parks is it's of course built all on the films and the animated films and the real life films and things like that, but these environments are it's just like for me being on a studio backlot, and I love it.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one of the things that I wanted to discuss quickly, I guess, is that the backlot tour was so much fun when it was like the Disney MGM Studios, whatever, it was so much fun. And that's one of the things that they did away with. And it was such a fascinating thing to get to see behind the scenes. I mean, I know they had the different homes. They had like the Golden Girls home or whatever it was also.
Yeah.
And you get to see the different facades of places, and they did away with that. It's like certain rides that Disney does away with, and, head scratching. Why? It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that I know I've seen, New York Street at Disney MGM, which is now completely gone because it's Star Wars Land, I think, and Toy Story Land took over.
It's so sad.
It is sad in a way, but I get why they did it. I get why they did it, because there was really nothing to do but walk through it. It was that's it. You just walked through it, and it was almost like, how are we going to use this space till we figure out what we know to do with this space? And it was kind of a dead end. You could get a pretzel or some cotton candy or something, but it really was just walk around, see it, and then go back to the main part of the park. But I know it's the whys are always confusing. When we've been around as long as you and I have, we fall in love with these things. They become, we don't want to see them go, but I know it still fits in with Walt's philosophy that the park should evolve.
Always evolving. Right.
Yeah, it should evolve and change. So with that, we're going to close out part 1 of our Disney Theme Parks podcast. Thanks so much for listening and watching. And please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you get updates on our most recent podcasts. And remember to follow us on social media. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Retro, where no one was hurt during the making of this podcast.